Alright, everybody, welcome in. My name is Joe, and we're going to jump into some chess. So here I am with an e4 game. So we just go e5, and we just play a mirror game. This is how we're going to play it. We know the most common responses is probably going to be a knight up. There is this bishop or the queen, but yeah, we'll just go into a standard opening, e4, e5 opening, knight f3, knight c6, and then we'll expect either the Italian or the Ruy Lopez. Oh. We're going into the four knights. Now, there's no reason I need to worry about the four knights. We've talked about this in the past. This square is covered. I'm just going to go into a typical Italian-like game and see if I can force my opponent back into an Italian. He's decided to go for it. Now, he's going for the center fork trick. So this is the center fork trick, right? You give up a pawn, but you give back the pawn. And the question is, do you give up the knight or the bishop? You know, the queen is defending it, so it's not the end of the world. I'm going to go ahead and, no, I'm going to save the bishop. I guess that's what makes the most sense, is save the bishop. I mean, that's truly what we should be doing. Then he takes. I'm going to offer another pawn here in a second. And open up my bishop. So I'm offering a free pawn here. Just to see if we can transpose this into something fun, right? We're just trying to have fun, play the game, see how it goes. But now we always have something along these lines, right? If my opponent were to do something silly, there's always the possibility of something like this jumping up. We can continue developing. We just castle. We're good. So we're down a pawn, right? And it's a central pawn, which kind of sucks, but big deal. We'll figure out a way to get back into it. Got to get my bishop developed. I think I'm going to put my bishop here on d7, maybe support a b5 break. Just trying to make something interesting out of this game, right? I played into the center fork trick knowing I was going to go into it because I wanted to try something, you know? You got to have fun when you play these games. Now, my opponent would love to have another fork, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case because we're just going to bring our rook over like this. Now this pawn is pinned, can't go anywhere. There's no defender on this bishop, so if we had, let's say, some kind of great discovery, that'd be awesome, but we don't have anything just yet. I would love to grab, right, but then if my opponent grabs the queen, then I have this check. And then I can get the queen back. That's a little ugly though, and it leaves a few things open for interpretation, which I'm not quite calculating, right? What if my opponent just grabs back with the knight, then he's defending his bishop, so that doesn't work. Let's just go ahead and continue developing. And just see how that goes, right? Just continue developing. So this square is attacked twice, and we've only got it defended once. Now it's 3 times. And boy, oh boy, something like that looks really tempting, doesn't it? But unfortunately, he does have that square covered a few times. But now might be an opportunity to dislodge this knight. really, he's gonna castle kings. He's gonna castle queen side, it looks like, which means I think I'm gonna go try to bust open this side of the board. Just give up another free pawn. The idea being that my opponent it looks like they're really setting up to castle on this side of the board. So we're gonna just start throwing pawns down the board and see what sticks. Now I'm not just throwing pawns down the board, right? That's not exactly what we're doing. Do I want to take? I think I do. I want to take. Nah, I didn't want to do that. I wanted that light square bishop to keep an eye on here. Get our rook lift in. Now this guy's defended, this guy isn't, so my opponent will need to do something. I'm secretly hoping he takes so I can bring my queen out, because that's going to give me nice pressure along this diagonal. We're going to bring their other rook to the semi-open b file. So I've now sacrificed 2 pawns for activity, right? We're just going to get some activity and see what we can make of it. Yeah, perfect. Now he's going to move. Now this he doesn't have to move this bishop anywhere. But this rook's going to come into the game. And oh look, he's encouraging me to get my rooks lined up here. Now the question is, where is a good... We're threatening a very serious discovery here. So where is a good place to put this rook? So now we've got pressure, pressure, pressure. We're feeling pretty good. Now we're a little disconnected right now. Our pieces are disconnected. We have back rank issues we have to be aware of, but I should have stuck the rook there. That was a mistake. I should have stuck the rook here. Pick up the bishop. We're not threatening checkmate by any stretch of the imagination, but we are threatening a serious check. Now, if my opponent moves the king, then yes, that's checkmate. In fact, ooh, I think I now have a checkmate pattern. Forces my opponent to either block with the bishop or the rook, slide the over, and then here. If he just pushes this pawn, though, that kind of takes the sting out. But I'm looking at here, check, forcing the king to the center where this is checkmate. If he pushes the pawn, the queen then defends, plus it blunts this diagonal. But if he pushes the pawn, he's weakening his king side, and we can get one of our pawns back. If he doesn't, then this, I think, is a forced checkmate. Bishop up, the only thing he can do is block. And then this becomes checkmate. No, because he's up, then the king slides over, and then here, and then that's checkmate. So yeah, so this, I believe this could be a forced checkmate if my opponent isn't careful. Now that I'm looking at this though, man, I'm really wishing I could undo that and put the rook here. I really wish I had thought about that longer. I have too much time on the clock not to. This is a critical position, right? This is where the attack is really taking action. Excellent. So now this opponent has to go back. This check. If the king goes this way, then no, we don't have that. Don't have this, so check. In that case, my opponent can block with the pawn. But then I have check. I could pick up, he has to move. And then pick up the, I can get one of my pawns back, make this a weakness. Okay, so there is a sequence here. Check. He has to go this way, or up the board. In either case, I can pick up the bishop. If he blocks, then I can bring the queen over. Actually, I could bring the rook over. All right, let's go for it. We can bring the rook over this way if we need to. No, we can't, because then he can, I have back rank issues. He moves. This is with check. So we know we're going to drop the bishop, but we're going to pick up a pawn. And he doesn't. I'll be damned. Huh. I don't have anything else to do. We know the queen is under attack. Sacrifice? The queen picks up. Now, let's just pick up the bishop. He'll pick up the pawn here. I think we can just pick up. I have back rank issues. I could force a queen trade at this point in time, but I don't think that's what I want. Let's go ahead and line our rooks up, I guess. This, we still have this covered. But if my opponent takes, I can take back with check, force the king to move, and then pick up the other rook at the end of the line. I think I'm okay there. I will have to make Luft, all right? I will have to give my king some kind of hidey hole at some point to make sure there's no back rank. The attack kind of stalled out, and when I go back and analyze this, yeah, so now my opponent is defending his rook because he knows this is coming. Capture, capture with check, the king moves, capture, capture, and then we're just down a pawn and we're playing into my opponent's favor. All right, so let's go ahead and just start setting up our pawns for better or worse. We're just going to tuck our king under here and see if that takes us anywhere. But our attack has stalled out, and now I got to reevaluate. There's a pawn here available for the taking, and I probably will grab it. He could simply push it. So now he is looking to try to pick up here, but we're just going to tuck in. All right, so we have to evaluate weaknesses now. Now we're transitioning to an end game with queen still on the board. We need to look at weaknesses. So my opponent has three weaknesses really. I have two weaknesses. Now my opponent has an extra pawn, so one of his weaknesses he can easily use to, shore up one of my weaknesses. So he has an extra pawn. The only thing I can see is this might get moved up, and maybe he'll introduce a new weakness here on the F file. I'm not certain, guys. I'm not certain at this point. This is where we transition to the end game, and I don't know how to make these work. I wish I did. I'm thinking if I bring my queen over, maybe I can get a nice discovered check. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, knowing that my opponent always has this check available, and I'd have to hide my king here. Then I can always push that pawn if I need to. So I'm using these pawns as a wall. But we're at an endgame now, and this is my struggle area. So we've gotten through a good... And so now he's forcing the queen trade. He takes, and then in this case, what do I want to do? Let's just go here. Let's just go here. He's going to pick up this pawn. I need to defend here and attack here. But now my king is locked off, and all he has to do is start bringing his king out. Yeah, I think I'm going to lose this endgame. I think my opponent has a better structure. Yeah, so even with check here, my opponent just hides up. Can't leave that guy behind. Let's bring this rook. See, if I were to do this, this might be my best option. He doesn't have access to that. He does. This is gonna be... Oops. Oops, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? I lost something, guys. Hang on. Profile. Games. White resigned. Why did White resign? GG, well played, I guess? What did I miss? Y'all, what did I miss? Did I miss something? So at this point in the game, my opponent's down here. I was debating on either bringing the rook or bringing the rook. I mean, I've got my pawn back, so we're even on material, right? We're even on material. 4 pawns to 4 pawns, 2 rooks. So let's see if we can think this through. My opponent does have an escape square here. But if I can get my rook behind, then I'm good. So all I have to do is bring my rook here. He would have to start walking up. So what if I bring my rook here? He can't walk up, and then I can slide over. So let's take a look at this from the analysis position. I don't see, it's a true win. I think maybe something like this. And then he can come up the board, and I don't have any way to stop it. And then he has a ladder mate. Yeah, I think White was going to win this game, guys. I don't... If he trades, Oh, and now he starts gobbling up with the king. Oh man, I am in serious trouble here. Oh right, he's got me checkmated there. Yeah, I'm in serious trouble. I don't know how to get out of this, guys. So I don't know why my opponent resigned after that. That doesn't make sense to me. All right, well, let's go back up here. Yeah, see, I want to go back to this attack. Right here was the crucial moment. And yes, I moved too fast. Man, I moved too fast. But I had something here. My opponent has to do something. Check. I guess if the queen... I don't know. Because at this point in time, if he does anything else, like try to defend here, either he gives up the queen or he moves, and then I still pick up the bishop at the end of the line. All right, what did I do? I went here, and the engine says I still have a massive advantage. Ugh, and it was this way. Or just start picking up, gobbling up. So I went this way, and that was wrong. Bishop f4, but then he hides here, and then I guess I just pick up the bishop. All right. Yeah, that's all. I just pick up the bishop. Check. He moves, doesn't matter where he moves, and I just pick up the bishop. As opposed to the way I did it was giving him... Yeah, basically a bishop trade where I get a pawn back at the end of the day. So I was worried about this being so disconnected, but my attack is completely fizzled at this point. But there was an attack here. We spotted the attack. We knew it was coming. We opened up lines. We did everything we needed to do. Like, I feel really good about this game, y'all. I feel really good about it. Let's go back to the very beginning. Let's turn off the engine and let's turn on the opening book. So this is just a very typical 3 knights looking for the 4 knights opening. The only reason I don't play into the 4 knights is because I haven't studied the 4 knights. I don't know if there are tricks or traps or things like that, and that's fine. Like, that's okay. So what I do know is the Italian and the Ruy Lopez, or the Italian and the Ruy Lopez. And so because I know the Italian, I decided let's go into that, right? Let's try to force that. In fact, my opponent went for the center fork trick. Right, so this is a good chance for me to show this center fork trick. This is one of the older tricks in the book. It exists, and it's so tempting to want to grab here, right? In this case, a lot of times what I would normally play is the Hungarian instead of the Italian from black. Now notice, I'm not actually playing, I'm not actually playing the Hungarian. I'm not actually playing the oops, did I go back too far? Right. This is not actually the Italian because of the move order. My opponent hasn't played the bishop. I haven't played my knight. So we're not in a true Italian. We're in the 3 knights opening. The most common right here, and you can see the most common is the 4 knights game. I don't know the 4 knights game, so I don't play the 4 knights game. I don't know the 4 knights game. Anyway, so I invited the Italian, see if my opponent wanted to play the Italian. He didn't. He wanted to go for this center fork trick. I don't know what this is. Oh, this is the sum of all. They're adding new features to Lichess all the time. So there is, all right, so there's this. Yeah, this would this doesn't have a name. And then capture. Oh, because that way I see. That way you're giving up the bishop and picking up the pawn. So you're keeping the pawns even and you're ruining your opponent's day at the same time. There's only, if we turn on the engine, you'll see there's literally only one good move, but there's there's multiple legal moves. Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing the other. I don't know why it's not showing the analysis for this other line. Unless it's just so bad as to be pointless. I don't know. That's weird. The engine's not shown. Either way, that doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah, I guess there's this, right? You're going to be giving up the bishop anyway, so why not give it up for a pawn and mess up your opponent's structure at the same time? That would have been fine. But I chose just to go ahead and go into it. And wow, what an advantage for white. Wow, this is a huge advantage that I did not understand. White has a massive advantage at this point in time because of that. I don't know why. Must be some kind of positional advantage. The fact that both of our kings are still in the center and the center is wide open and my opponent has control of the center. Maybe. Yeah, I should have probably maybe even looked at h6 at this point in time. Unnecessary, but... I mean, yeah, my opponent has not found a way to take advantage of this initiative. Not sure. Alright, but anyway, we developed with purpose, and wow, now here, oh, see, I said, didn't I say that there had to be something here? If the opponent takes, then we are able to take back. The best move is that move. That comes with check. And at the end of the day, we're up a full piece. Huh. Wow. At the end of the day, we'd be up a full piece. Capture. The knight captures back. Oh, the knight's pinned. Y'all, if I play the center fork trick game, I need to recognize that the knight is pinned. Because didn't I say that I said that over the board? I said this, and then they capture back, and then this is defended. But it's not defended because the knight is pinned. Ooh. Therefore, free bishop. Now, once my opponent, let's say, castles, then the knight is ready to grab. And wow, it really, even the engine says just sacrificing the exchange is better. Oh, because look at this. At the end of the line, you could pick up another piece. Wow. Because the f-pawn has moved, we've opened up this diagonal. There's a tactic. There's a tactic. So, if we look at this diagonal is open. Our queen can give check and attack this at the same time. The only thing that's stopping us from doing that is this knight is in the way. Well, if that knight wasn't in the way... If that knight wasn't in the way, well, that leaves us, boom, sacrifice. And the opponent, again, looking to give up material the best way possible. Interesting. And then black has a massive advantage. Wow, okay. But that was the center fork trick. In this case, I chose to save the bishop, and I did it poorly. So I didn't play this the way I thought I could. But I made decisions with intent. We got developed, and then here, we're definitely looking at... That's a fun infiltration. We're definitely looking at exactly what I said. Boom. Open up the outside file, because my opponent has made it pretty clear that he's not castling kingside, but he's getting ready to castle queenside. It's pretty clear that he's got this structure set up, ready to tuck in. He's messed up his kingside pawn, so we predicted, and we predicted correctly. I feel really strong about where we ended up. This check basically forces the king not to be able to castle at all. And then, do we slide the rook? Yeah, then we slide the rook under, because now there's two attackers, two defenders. Would I be willing to give up these two for these two? I don't know. But then if the knight moves, we've got access to this. Interesting position. This turned into a really interesting positional game. Interesting positions in this game. I wouldn't call it positional because I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this positions, but I felt really happy here. At this point in time, like I said, I didn't want to give up this and have an isolated queen's pawn. But then again, I already have isolated pawn, so what's the big deal anyway? I guess I could have stuck the rook over then, and then allowed this capture. Then I guess it allows my opponent to shore up. Wow, we're giving white a huge advantage. So I'm really surprised at how oh, and then takes and takes. Interesting. I'm really surprised at how bad I misread this game. Like, I really thought that I had some really strong advantages. I was very fortunate that my opponent missed this pawn push. Because by not finding that, he allowed me into the game. But I really thought that I had a good position. I felt really comfortable here. The engine says that's not true. The engine says that I am missing out a little bit. So, oh well. This bishop move here, I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to get out from underneath this, but by doing so, allowed me to line up my rook exactly where I wanted to line it up. And then, so mad at myself. I put my rook basically on the only. Let's put the analysis up really high. Hang on, multiple lines. Let's crank the analysis up to 5 lines, and see if any of them say that rook over is a good move. Rook to a5 is, oh, number 2. Okay, so rook to a5 is number 2 on the list. No, it's not. It's fallen. No, there it is. It's back. Rook to a5 is number 2 on the list. Okay. Turn that back down before my my computer catches on fire from trying to grind all these lines. I'm really mad at myself. I mean, look at the difference. It's a full piece difference. Because if your opponent moves, then boom, it's becoming a oh no, and then I said, hang on, back up. I said this line, because then my opponent has to give up either the rook or the queen. Because if he moves, then it's checkmate in 1, exactly like I called it. Yeah, but the engine says to go this way, it'd be better. Now the king is trapped. Now we bring the bishop. Wow, wow, that's a different move order. And then you're forced to give it up. And then a back rank checkmate. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, so we got into this position here, and then our attack stalled out right. We had the attack, and I even wish I'd put my rook. No, because if I put the rook here, then my opponent captures and blocks my influence, so there's no more. Yeah, so realistically, this would have been the main one. Because at the end of the day, I just pick up a piece. But I went here, and then I just couldn't find the follow-up. And this is where it fell apart. And if I'd gone here, I think that's even worse. Yeah, you have to give up. You have to trade. I mean, at least then I guess I can save my... No, I can't. I have to bring it all the way back because I have back rank issues. That comes with check. Don't... Oh, no, I do have that covered. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, what a weird game, guys. This was exciting. This was fun. And then yeah, at this point in time, I had an attack, and I just couldn't figure out how to finish it. And this was good for me. This was good for me. I'm happy that this game went this way. I'm really happy, even though I probably should have lost this game. I felt like I made some pretty good decisions. Yeah, and the engine says make Luft. Get your king to safety. And I guarantee you, I bet the engine says do not let that rook get to the second row, go up the board with the king. Yeah, I have to trade here because I'm in check. If I do anything else, I lose a full queen. Yeah, I should have gone up the board. No, the engine says going back home is... Well, they're the same. They're the same. So, okay. So I'm wrong there. What? Oh, son of a gun. The king has to go away, and then you pick up a free rook. I said the king just hides, and then I have nothing here. But I do have something. I have another rook, which forces the king away. Yeah, and then I let the opponent back into the game. And I didn't really, yeah, see, by moving the rook off of here is what gave me a window. But my opponent really should have won this game. There's checkmate in 6 here. Cut the king off. If my opponent does, you know, we can look at the threats. Yeah, the threat is a ladder checkmate. My opponent basically just has to throw away material. Gives a check. I hide. Gives a check. I hide. There's no more check. Give away material. Give away material. It's literally checkmate in 1. I have to get better at my checkmates. I have to get better at these checkmate patterns. I have to see that this is checkmate. Yeah, and then it just, and then from here, that's where my opponent resigned. And I did not have, I was looking at these moves, basically. But I don't have checkmate, because my opponent can now wiggle out the back. Well, we got the win. We shouldn't have. We got the win. I felt like this was a good game, but looking back on it, some of my evaluations were incorrect. And that's one of the things that, for me to stay as a 1600 or move towards a 1700, I have to get better at understanding these evaluations, understanding that the positions I'm looking for, right? I felt like this was a good position, but in reality, it's not so much. In reality, I gave my opponent too much. I gave them too big of a window, and I just wasn't able to make something out of it. All right. Well, thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate you guys so much. This was a lot of fun to play. I am gonna try to set up for the next game and see if I have time to get another game in, but we'll continue on. This was a fun game. It was a 3 nights that I tried to force an Italian game and ended up as a center fork, but I kind of played into that, and you know, we got an interesting game out of it at least, so that was fun. I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks so much. Bye.